So I want to do a video on Mercury in retrograde because I think Mercury in retrograde seems to carry quite a lot of fear with it. So when people say, "Oh my gosh, Mercury in retrograde's coming up," battle stations, everyone, don't sign contracts. Your travel plans are likely to go awry. Oh, your computers, if it's going to crash, it's going to crash during that time. So I think immediately people get a bit like, oh, panicky and a bit anxious ridden when it comes to this time. And you know what? I have to say I was a little bit guilty of this as well for a time. So years ago, my husband Matt used to have a car business. So he used to sell cars, and when Mercury in retrograde happened, I'd be like, oh, this is such a bad time for people to buy cars. You're going to have a nightmare with it. And obviously, I didn't want to say that out loud because Mercury in retrograde happens for 3 weeks, 3 times a year. So that was obviously going to have a big impact on his profit for the year. So, every time, he didn't make a sale, I'd be like, oh, it's good. Hopefully he'll make it up. And you know what? I don't think it had to be that case at all. And I think sometimes, it's easy to feel worried about something and be victim to something when it really doesn't need to be the case. So, firstly, let's look at what Mercury retrograde is. So, Mercury in retrograde is a time when the planet Mercury looks like it's moving backwards. So Mercury is the planet closest to the Sun. It's the fastest moving planet, and it's very much connected to communication, sharing ideas, learning, growing, short travel, communication generally. And obviously this planet's normally moving forward, but 3 or 4 times a year it actually looks like it's going backwards. So rather than having that natural kind of flow, sharing ideas, connecting with people, learning, growing, it's actually when this energy, instead of moving forward, is actually kind of becoming a little bit more inward. So whenever I see retrograde, I always immediately think this is a time to revisit. This is a time to go over stuff that I've perhaps already put in place and just really get organised and clear with it. So rather than worrying about it, I always use the Mercury retrograde time as a time to look at my computer and kind of like tidy it up. Clear all those emails that get backed up that I tend to ignore, get my filing system organised, get some storage. I also make a real effort to try and clear some storage on my phone. Sometimes I'm not that successful, but I try and really take care of my communication tools, as it were, because sometimes if they are going to go wrong, or if I'm overlooking or ignoring something, then yes, it could be at this time that it's highlighted that this area needs addressing. And I think that we all live in the real world where we can't necessarily plan our life around, what the planet's doing. And, if our holiday actually happens during this time, this isn't about cancelling it. This is just about perhaps double checking some things. So, just double check the taxi's going to pick us up on time. Have I printed out all my travel arrangements? It's about being really on top of the detail in a way that perhaps normally we can just let things, glide a little bit more. It's just a time to just be a little bit more vigilant, but certainly not to feel anxious about it. And if I could say to my younger self, with my poor husband trying to sell cars, I would say it's absolutely fine. I would probably just be a little more aware of making sure the paperwork's where you think it is, and just checking things, stuff that really we should be doing anyway. But Mercury retrograde is a time which happens 3 times a year. I think I actually said that, for 3 weeks, when it's about, rather than moving forward, it's about stopping. It's about revisiting what we have and checking we've got everything in place so that when we come out of retrograde, we're ready to fly and move forward and share our ideas with the world in a way that's just going to be easy because we've got all our organisation in place.